Welcome to another episode of Queen3 and King. I am your host, King Dog. King Dog. And we got some queens in the building today. We are missing one, the baby queen. She's having some technical difficulties, but we will bring her on shortly. But let me allow me to introduce our guest host for today. Well, one of them, a couple of them are permanent hosts, but for now anyway, they're still in a probationary period.
I wish you would.
So we doing like Jeopardy here. We interviewing replacements in this not that side. Anyway, so we're gonna start out north with the seasoned queen, who is somewhere damn near in Van Augustine. By way of East Garland, Texas, Darling Nikki, Boney Maroney, Skinny Minnie, Coco, the Glamour herself, to now two. What up, Queen?
Hey, y'all. I missed y'all for the last week or two, however long it's been. Seems like forever.
It's been that long, and you ain't been able to get that ball on your head straight yet? I mean, why is it coming to the side like that?
I was in there, and I was
That's what you've been working on?
Trying to take a nap? What?
That's what you've been working on for 2 weeks?
Boy, no, I had a whole lot of stuff to do.
Well,
I had
straight do your head like
everything.
this, do it like that.
Hey,
one of the two.
Hush. We got to go on with the show.
I guess the t-shirt say see. I guess you don't see.
Yes, it's self-esteem. It's self-esteem elevated.
Okay. All right. Well, that ball elevated. I know that. All right. Let's go on to the Stevie Wonder little sister braid hour over here. The educator. Meepa, TT. What up, Queen?
Hey, y'all. Good evening.
You got anything you want to say about these braids?
Tell them our brother's a jerk.
Yeah, I'm about to call you out your name on here.
Is these box braids or what they call them? I don't know.
These are braids that I've been wearing.
It's men's on here that don't know that kind of stuff. We need you to educate so that way when he see his old lady, say, "Baby, your box braids look good." What they call?
Box braid with a little color at the end.
Look like it got a little German Shepherd tail down at the bottom of it. Husky? Shit, I don't know. In your home over there, too. What is that with that? She tried to hold it in. I can tell she liked it. She tried to hold it in until she couldn't no more. And that brings us to our special guest host, Dr. Queen Selena Smith. She took all them other names off. I guess we ain't got enough letters to put Fitzroy Smith.
I was gonna be a Fitzroy, but now.
All right, what's going on with it?
Hey, how are y'all?
Good. How are you, ma'am?
They good.
They're good, Link.
Let's see, Pastor Smith let you wear that lipstick color today for the show, so I appreciate that.
Let her.
Yeah.
What?
All right, we got Alicia on now. Lily, the baby queen.
Hello.
Look like her and Nick is struggling with the same ball up there. Nick is leaning to the right, hers leaning to the left. You all right over there?
Yes.
Formerly known as Blake's mama. Now she's Bronx's mama. What's going on today?
Hello, guys. Sorry, I'm off.
You sad because you got to go back to work on Thursday?
No. I don't know what's going on.
You try not to think about that.
No, I'm not trying. I'm trying not to think about that until Thursday. She got her lottery ticket for tonight. No, I did that last.
All right, let's check the chat first, and then we'll dig into a couple of little issues here. Again, for you individuals that are on Facebook, please allow Restream to publish your information. You got to give them that information. Click on the link that I put in the chat, so that way they can post your name with your comments. We got Keisha Walker in the building.
Hey, Keisha.
H-Rap homegirl. Hi, she says, hi, gorgeous family. And she said, hi, Dr. Selena. If you missed last night's episode of the forecast, the first, I was going to say 10 minutes into the show, I was going to say, this is the best 10 minutes we done ever did. 20 minutes into the show, I said, this is the best 20 minutes we done ever did. 30 minutes into the show, I said, this is the best 30 minutes we done ever did. But yeah, do yourself a favor and check that out if you have not checked it out. Last night's show, I hadn't been on in a week or so, and I was completely sober, but I was like a little kid who hadn't seen his friends in a long time.
Boy, come.
So, and we had cake. Cake, yeah, it's a dessert. You can have sometimes after you eat savory food. Sometimes
who
you
made
eat sweet
the cake?
Food. It's a metaphor, but okay.
Boy,
you are such a jerk.
We got Justin in the building, Elevate Podcast. And what's good, family? What's up, my man?
Hey, Justin.
What else did he say? Say something else. He said that's that summertime look. I don't know who he talking about. Mika, yeah, probably Mika with them braids. Yeah, and I know he can't be talking about that ball on Nikki head or summertime.
He might be.
That's winter. That's winter like a mother. Man.
You a lie.
Okay,
shut up and get
yes.
We got Ben Suttereth the third in the building. He the gentleman who put the BS in BS3 Radio.
And he's also nicer than you. Hey, Ben.
Well, yeah, sometimes I had to check him because last night he looked at kind of sideways at Erica, and me and Wilkes almost came through that computer on him. Said, "Don't look at her like that. I don't know what you think this is. We'll come right over there real quick." Matter of fact, it was so funny. I heard Erica laughing in the background at least 5 times last night, and I don't ever hear Erica on the show. She said the forecast was awesome last night. We know that's what we just said. We don't need you to type in what we just done been saying. All right, so Lily, we had talked about hold on. Justin said they're going to kick your ass.
Yes.
All right. So Lily, we had talked about possibly discussing this during the Streets of Talking. However, considering that this topic of tonight's show is mental health in our children, Mika brought up a good point that we really cannot start without kind of addressing this issue, because it has got to be a mental health issue, right? You know, can we see it any other way? So again, this is in Uvalde, Texas, which is about 85 miles west of San Antonio and about 75 miles north of the border of Mexico. This town has 16,000 residents in it, and the latest number is 18 children and 3 staff members killed by this young man. And I want to say he took in a handgun and a rifle of some sort, you know. So Lily, you got anything else on this?
No, it just came up that the toll is going up. So you said it 18 and 3 adults.
Yeah, and you would think, considering that it's Uvalde, I think we got to put this on mental health. We can't put it on race, because I would imagine that the people in that school are probably made up of people in that community, which he's a part of. And based on the location, I would imagine that it would be a heavy Hispanic community, right? And it looks, by the looks of it, and from, I can't remember his name, but yeah. So based on his name, he's Hispanic also. So it's not a a racial issue. It is about mental health, as far as I'm concerned. But go ahead.
Yeah.
And he also allegedly shot his grandmother before he carried out this task.
Yeah, I heard that too.
She was air flighted, and they said she's still holding on at the moment, but they really don't know any updates on her condition. So
and what about him? I have not heard that yet. Did he take
dead.
his own life?
Yeah.
Okay, so who did he take his own life, or did authorities?
I think they shot him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were kind of breaking that down of how many we saw last year of the school incidents and things like that, and mass shootings, and breaking it down to, I want to say it was over 60 that we had last year. and only one of those were female. So they were saying the male to female ratio, kind of breaking it down to that, and how many actually took their lives, how many were taken into custody, how many were taken down by police and things like that. So he actually was killed by the police during the attack.
And another aspect of this whole mass shooting situation, based on the number of days that we've had in this year, right? And it's May, and let's say the average is 30 days per month. It's been 171 days or so. There have been more mass shootings this year than there have been number of days. That's a problem. That means there's been more than one a day, in this country since the year has began. So again, when talking about mental health, it is yet another reason why we need to remove the stigma of mental health from our society.
Absolutely.
So people will, number one, as individuals, be less hesitant about seeking help, but also why we would be able to more readily make suggestions or point out potential issues. Because again, I'm willing to bet that somebody somewhere saw and felt something. Right.
Yeah. I think another point that people were talking about is just the security of schools, because it's not like you can really hide a rifle. So people are even talking about when he came up to the school, what that scenario looked like, and just the gun control in Texas, period. People are calling out Abbott. People are calling out just gun laws and things like that, because we've been kind of slow to react. And I think everybody is kind of, at this point, is kind of numb, and it's just another one of those shootings, right? But I think it hits different. I don't know.
Yeah, and obviously, if you're someone who has a young child who is close to this age,
Yeah.
it's going to hit you a little different than it's going to hit some other folks as well, right? And, again, metal detectors is what's needed at every school, not just inner city schools, at every school, not just at well-to-do schools, at every school.
Right.
And unfortunately, based on the budget and some of the finances that some of these schools have, they don't have the money to be able to put those in at every entrance, and then another thing you got to consider is you got to consider fire code, right? So you got to have them at every entrance, because you can't be locking the back door, because that's against fire code. You can't be putting chains on it, even though, guess what? I done been to some schools that done seen some entrances blocked off with chains and stuff like that, So again, Mika, go ahead. You're in education, so tell us what you think.
I think Alicia said the correct word. So I talked to Selena on the way home about this, because as educators, it's not on us, but it's on us.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do? How could we? Like, the first thing my mind said, I went to is I need to interview. Like, what, you can't prevent. How do you prevent this? Because this man went in, and it was mostly 5 to 6-year-olds that he got. And so it's like I said, it's not on us, but it's on us. What do we do? How do we prevent this? And I'm just, like you said, I'm thinking of safety laws. Like, how did he get in? What door did he come in? Nobody seen him. What happened? And if we have police officers, as we should at all our schools, could this have helped? Like, I'm just thinking about all of that. And while you say we don't have money for metal detectors, we have money for everything else.
Exactly.
When COVID came out, y'all should have seen the amount of air purifiers, sanitizers, gloves, whatever, everything we needed, we had it at those schools. So you can't tell me that we can't get metal detectors at the front and back door and we check. Okay. It's just, it just hits different. I'm just, after, leaving work, and I'm getting emails and texts from friends and, in education, I'm like, okay, so what?
Yeah.
So tell me this, was there a school resource officer present there?
Yeah.
Do we know that?
I can't speak to that, but Selena is at an elementary school, and 9 times out of 10, you do not have school resource officers at elementary
schools.
But why?
because the school
The
resource officers were
misconception
put
is
in
that we
place.
don't need it.
Yeah, because they were put
Yeah,
in
they
place
need it.
supposedly to police the students, not the
Yeah.
threat from the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're saying is that they
Yeah.
don't need one for elementary school, which is, obviously an issue. What about teachers being licensed to carry? Have we? What's been the final thing on that? What's the latest on that? And is that allowed in Texas or other states, or what do y'all know about that, if anything?
I don't think it went anywhere with that because teachers are already like, you've already given me so many jobs to do. And so now I'm responsible for carrying a weapon to be able to, I mean, even though teachers are going to step in anyway, if they're if their children or their students are put in harm's way, they're going to step in regardless. But for you to say you're the one that's licensed to carry the gun, now it's on me to be the protector.
Well, no. So I'm talking about from a voluntary standpoint. In other words, the folks, if I were a teacher, for instance, and I had an inkling to carry, be licensed to carry, then I would be allowed to. So more of a voluntary. For those who wanted to were allowed to, not because you cannot force somebody to get licensed to carry. That's not a good idea at all, because chances are, if you're having to force that individual, there's a reason why they don't really want to be licensed to carry, and they could not, because a lot of people just are not comfortable around guns. So that's not a feasible approach, but again, those who may want to, do
it's still
so.
illegal for us to have firearms on school
It's
campus.
illegal
on campus.
Which again, maybe they need to relook at this then. How many lives may have been saved, if that were allowed today?
But then again, I'm just like, what about the like? It's so much that teachers have to do and carry, and and I believe, and I could be wrong. The teachers, that did pass, they were probably over their kids, protecting their kids. So they were trying to protect them. And I don't know if you have a gun and you're a teacher, do you go get your gun right then? Or if I have an officer or two in the school, could they have prevented? I don't know. It's just so much for teachers to have to do already. Like, is that another thing we're gonna stack on top of our teachers? Instead of making our school districts responsible, we need metal detectors, we need police officers, we have money for everything else.
Okay, so Derek said this isn't a problem teachers should be worrying about fixing. The fact that we need metal detectors and police in the schools is the real problem. I say we isolate the demographic that's proven to commit these crimes. Yeah, which without even doing no research, we can all think about who that is, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think we just need to, this whole stay woke, scenario it has to be extended because somebody's parent saw that something was going on with the child. No one just comes into an elementary school and shoot a bunch of kids without showing some type of signs of distress, of mental distress. And so if teachers, if parents, if family members are staying woke and saying, okay, let me be curious, something is going on with this person. They're not, acting, their behavior is not normal. Their mental state is not what we would consider a normal mental state, and be able to kind of combat and see what's going on before things like this get out of hand.
Yeah, I'm definitely a proponent, and I oftentimes tell folks that, hey, you need to be aware of your surroundings, and it's something that I told my kids, but it's something that we need to be telling every adult that we know, is that they need to be aware of their surroundings, because it is a safety issue. You never know. I don't care if you're walking through Walmart. I don't care if you at church. I don't care if you're at 7-Eleven pumping gas. If you're not paying attention to what's going on, you out of order. You need to be focused on what's happening, especially in this day and age. The proof is in the pudding as to what we're struggling with and what we're having to deal with. So you need to be hyper vigilant when it comes to paying attention to what's going on around you.
But Ken tells us that if I had $1 for every time he's told me and the kids that, and at the first we were like, okay, we know you already told us, but now the more things are happening, all this tragedy, I understand why he tells us to be aware of our surroundings, because you never know what's going to happen. So, but it's just that I'm sitting here and y'all, and I actually need to. I feel like I'm so emotional to the fact that I'm I have tears in my eyes because this we got to do something. Something has to happen. Something has to happen because why does those children have to lose their life and those teachers for what? We have to do something with regards to mental health. I have grandbabies as kids, and they're not really in school yet. Y'all know be graduating, but I think about my grandkids. What happens when they get older? And my nieces and my nephews.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Nobody should have to go through that.
yeah, no doubt. And if I'm not mistaken, there is a uh, fee or a price per kid that these schools are getting paid, or school districts get paid, right, based on
Yes.
attendance and that type of thing. Maybe again, there's a lot of problems that we have. We say, you got to start hitting them in the pocketbook before they start paying attention to it. So maybe if more people start pulling their kids out of these schools and putting them into charter schools that have better security, or homeschooling to
Yeah.
where you don't have to worry about it, maybe at that point they'll start paying attention. Um, let's see. Aunt Weta is in the building, and she says, "Hey, family, what's going
Hey.
on?"
Hey, and Weta.
And we got Miss Priscilla watching. She goes, Priscilla Baker is watching. Uh, Justin at the Elevate Podcast says, I'm scared to send my kids to school for this last week. I mean, what are we to do? Right.
Because those copycat,
Yes.
folks.
Yeah. And I even think about or hesitate to show this guy's picture or give him any airtime. And I think about that with news because again, some folks look at that and that's what they want. They want the publicity and they want the press. Again, these are mental issues, and far too often, kids who do these types of things have been victims of anonymity, right? They are the unknown, they are the looked over in school, et cetera, et cetera. So if they know they can get some publicity, that is an incentive for them to possibly act on some other things that they've been getting. So again, that's a debate as well, as how much press do you give these individuals. You have to give it some press because people need to be made aware of what's taking place and what they can do in terms of trying to remain safe. But that is an aspect of this that we got to consider as well. Derek says homeschooling is about to take over. Yeah, I just mentioned that.
No lie.
We hope.
Number one, I bet you the numbers on homeschooling were up already with COVID. Like how many people never came out of that, right? But I would imagine that the numbers would probably go up as well.
But the thing is, a lot of parents that we see in these areas that are affected by it, they can't afford to do that. They can't afford to
that's true.
homeschool or to put their attention really into making sure their child gets the education they need, because they're trying to also make a living. So a lot of offices are going back to work. So a lot of people are migrating back to work, and then that just kind of leaves the kids you have to go to school. That's the only way.
Yeah.
So,
and April, what's up, April? Cousin April, she goes, and then a lot of people are scared to get help and talk to someone. Yeah, that's one of the things we mentioned early on, is that it's yet another reason why we have to destigmatize the mental health aspect in our community, and the negative connotation with mental health and getting therapy and things of that nature. We have to normalize that and make it not only acceptable but encouraged. And I've heard in some of these discussions a lot lately is that everyone needs therapy, right? And if we just take a look at our community alone, right? And and there's this thought process there that trauma is generational, right? That it's passed down. Then as a result of that, then I don't think anyone in the Black community can argue that their ancestors have seen some trauma, right? And then you talk about their grandparents, great grandparents, and parents. They've been victims of trauma, and as a result, some of that has had to touch you. So based on that theory, then yes, everyone should be receiving therapy. And if that starts to happen more readily, then again, I think the stigmatism will continue to be lessened, and it would become more acceptable that people seek help. So then, to April's point, that people won't be afraid to get help and talk to somebody, And then another thing, us as adults with as many kids as we see, especially our kids, right? That we need to continue to encourage them. Hey, if you need something, you can talk to somebody. If you can't talk to me, talk to somebody. Start at your own house with your own kids. Hey, if you can't talk to me, talk to somebody. Me being a former coach, I would oftentimes build those relationships with kids, knowing that sometimes kids just can't talk to their parents. It ain't even about whether their parents have made that effort. It is just the dynamic of a parent-kid relationship that makes those conversations sometimes difficult, right?
Can I go back to a point that Selena said earlier about, not even just for this child, that because he was a child, but he did a grown man action, he went into the schools today. You said we should be looking for signs. What signs or what things should we be looking for as parents, as educators, as community leaders, or whatever the case may be? What signs should we be looking for?
So for one, I think the misconception is that if you have mental health struggles, that you're crazy, right? Mm-hmm. And so mental health is not necessarily a sign that you're crazy, but it's an illness.
Yeah, it's an illness just like imbalance, right?
Right. It's an illness just as physical illness is. And so just like you would go and get, your checkups at your primary care physician, just as you would go to get physical checkups, you have to maintain your mental health as well. And so seeking therapy is just a way to maintain your mental health, because as adults, we look for mental health issues in children to mirror or to be equivalent to those in adults, right? And so we look for kids to be depressed, or for kids to have episodes of schizophrenia just as adults do, but it doesn't look the same. So for kids, it may be behavior issues. It may be the fact that they have lack of impulse control, or they may be sad, they may exhibit, signs of depression or whatever, but they also may be where they can't control their emotions. So you see a child, you see a student who's like not able to control their emotions. They get upset, but when they're upset, they're not able to balance themselves and to kind of regulate their emotions and get back to a state of balance. Those students there, okay, they have the potential to suffer with mental health issues. Or if they're doing things that they normally wouldn't do, they're starting to cut people off in their life. They're not talking to you as much as they used to talk to you. Those are signs that there's something going on, or they're staring off into space. They're thinking of things. If they have a regular routine and they're now no longer doing those regular routine things, or they're not talking the same, they're not walking the same, they're not acting the same, then you have to be curious, or their behavior changes. If their behavior is different, you have to be curious and say, what happened to them, or what is going on with them to where they feel like, my step is off. I'm not the same person that I used to be. And when you're curious about that, because a parent and a teacher, as educators, we know our students from day one to day, 182, we know our students. And when something is off from them, and you're curious enough to say, there's something going on with them, and to identify those things, when you do that and you step in and be that sense of intervention, or that safe space for them, you can kind of identify that there's something going on with them and I need to seek help for them, or be that support for them.
Right. And I would have to, no, go ahead, Lily.
I think too many times we write it off as, oh, they're just at that age, right? How many times do we hear that? Oh, they're just staying in their room because they're at that age, just leave them be. When you're allowing them to kind of let that take over. So Cadence is 11 years old, and everybody always like, well, she's getting to that age. I don't care. I'll come out of the room. Come out of the room with the rest of us downstairs. And I'll be like, is everything good? You good? She's like, yeah, Mom, I'm just in my room. Okay, I'm just checking in, because you have to do those random check-ins, because you don't want to allow the little things to overtake them, because they become so much more bigger things that they allow their little minds really can't process.
Right.
And then you don't identify that those little things are big things until something happens.
Right.
Exactly. You go back there and you're like, well, you know what? They were in their room a lot, or they were, what I mean? And so if you think about that beforehand, then it cuts off of those things.
Yeah. And that's where I was going to go with it, Lily, too, is that we oftentimes dismiss, especially young teenagers, like at the age K is getting to. And I was going to say, it's not always adolescence, right?
Right.
And too often we'll write that off, and trust me, that is a huge issue for kids to deal with, right? We all went through it, and that adolescence and them hormones and that kind of stuff, when that get rolling, that's a booger, right? And think about it back when we were kids, having to deal with that, and how much more the kids have to deal with now, because now there's social media, and everybody got a phone, and everything's being recorded, and et cetera, et cetera. They are probably, if they've seen one embarrassing video of a student either their age or that goes to their school or whatever, they could be walking around literally in fear every day, thinking, I can't mess up. I hope I don't get caught on video doing something. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole nother fear factor that they got to contend with. That, again, we probably have a difficult time of relating to, because we didn't have to deal with the same thing when we were growing up.
Yes, social media era.
Yeah, we're going to take just a second to pause for station identification.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
All right, we're going to catch up on some of the comments. Let's see. Justin says, I feel like kids need school for the development, especially socially. I agree 100% that social development for kids is an important aspect.
Super important.
Again, it's one of the reasons why I volunteered my time to coach, because I think those athletic endeavors as well. Every kid don't need to play, soccer or basketball or little league baseball because you think they're gonna turn pro one day. It ain't got a damn thing to do with that, as far as I'm concerned. If they happen to be good, that's fine, right? But they need it for social development, as far as I'm concerned. Taekwondo, karate, or karate, because when you're real good at karate, you say karate, you don't say karate. But anyway, they need to
Go
do
to
this
the
for
next
the
comment.
They need to do this for the social development. That is a huge aspect, because again, if you take away the social development aspect, if you don't replace that, if you decide to homeschool them and you don't replace that social development aspect, you're going to be creating a monster in and of itself, in one way or the other.
But that's what we say it all students, because they've had 2 years. Social emotional development is done by having these everyday, interactions with people. And because you haven't had that for 2 years, especially because of the pandemic, you don't see the incremental loss of social development.
That's a good point. So if you think about this 18-year-old kid, right, that did this tragic act today, that means that in a good piece of it, he may have went from the age of 15 to 17 with little to no interaction, or 16 to 18.
That's a lot of times what we're telling our teachers when we go into the school, because they're not listening. They're in 5th grade, but we're telling them they're really 3rd graders mentally, because they have not been in school for 2 years. So that's one thing we have to keep reiterating to our teachers, because they're tired too. It's a mental strain on our teachers. Like, why aren't these kids sitting down? Or why, my 5th graders didn't do this in the past. Your 5th graders also weren't at home for 2 years. So that's something we have to keep reiterating.
And it's completely understandable that the teachers aren't aware of that, because this is something that they've never had to deal with either, So the fact that they not really keen on what's been taking place or what's happening, hell, they human just like we are, So it's a learning curve for them too, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and a lot of those kids saw their parents fall into depressions with COVID and everything else.
That's
so they watched. That was their example.
That's another thing. How many kids do you think for the first time saw their mom and daddy arguing for the first time because they was in a house together for so many times? It could have rocked some of their worlds. H-Rap in the building said, "Good evening, family." He from those schools, so he got to see his mom and dad argue all the time. Yeah, just like all we did was just turn up Fresh Prince a little louder here.
Fresh Prince.
How come you don't want me? Derek,
Boy, that's my episode.
I know it. Derek said a lot of people are quitting their jobs because their companies are telling them to go back to the office. People are searching for companies that will let them work remotely, right?
Yeah.
Because of stuff like this.
All right, Gary Freeman, my brother here, that'll be on the show next week with Independence Mentality. He said the preventative measure that have been taken at inner city schools have been very effective, and I believe these measures should be taken at all schools. Yeah, the preventative measures that have been taken at inner city schools have been effective, and he believes they should be taken at all schools. And I heard someone on the radio this afternoon say that exact same thing.
But to that point, Selena and I were talking about this while looking at different, opportunities out, in different school districts, just to see what they have when it comes to transformation and innovation and trauma and all that good stuff. Some schools are getting rid of positions that do take care of like safety and security, social emotional learning, trauma informed teaching, all that. So it's not at the forefront a lot of the times.
And why are they getting rid of these programs? It's a budget situation.
But they're putting it on the teachers. So now the teachers are supposed to provide social emotional
because they want to pay their admin more.
Oh,
and the counselors. They want to put all of this stuff on the teachers. To be the counselor, to be the
some of the positions Mikas is in, so
no, above her.
Above me, bro.
Above her. They gonna get paid first.
Check this out, then. So it is another reason. Again, A-Trap is on there, and he's taking some heat from some of the viewers. We'll get to in just a minute. But he always talks about talking to your senators and your congressmen and whatnot. So whoever is in these positions that make these decisions with regard to the independent school districts, whether it be the school council, whether it be the city council, whether it be whoever the case may be, that's why you need to talk to them, about these sorts of things and say, we need to, it's not just about teachers' pay, right? That's part of it, right? But that same bill that's going to address teachers' pay, you need to be saying, hey, we need to put something in there, that has to do with security or added staff that are security based or whatever the case may be.
Parents get to school board meetings. It's a section every school board meeting that allows for citizens communication, that allows for you to tell what you think. They give you 2 minutes of uninterrupted time. Is it 2, Selena, or 2 or 3?
Probably just like funerals, 2 minutes.
But it also goes to, you got to be specific, right? Because I had the opportunity to lobby with Texas legislators about the need for social emotional learning in the schools and the need for more mental health professionals in the schools. And so they took that as, let's make sure that the teachers are doing this social emotional curriculum in their classrooms. And I'm like, no, we need actual professionals within the school building.
In the building.
That's their expertise.
They're not trained enough. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the tools, the strategies, or even the wheelhouse to know what to do in those situations. And so I can teach you ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, but you want me to help you with your mental health. You know what I'm saying? So talking to these legislators, they hear you, but they're not comprehending what you're asking.
They filter it a different way. It means something different. They interpret it to be something else.
And these educators most of them have never set foot inside of a classroom.
So then this is another thing I would say too, is that, like it's one of the things that I've suggested with our families is that we have certain levels of expertise, right? Like, so when it comes to insurance, if my family's got any questions about insurance, they need to be coming. Hey, can you look over my policy to make sure I got the right coverage, and homeowners? What are the pitfalls? Do some of your customers don't have enough coverage? What's the deal? Talk to me about that, right? Whatever expertise we have in the family, they need to be coming to them and saying, hey, what the deal is with this, right? And so same thing, we got educators in our family. They need to be telling, hey, you need to go talk to this person about this because this is needed in the schools, et cetera, et cetera. Because I got news for you. You know what? It's probably a week left in school for most of these, schools in Texas, and something needs to be done prior to the beginning of the next school year. And unfortunately, I just don't know that they can get some of those things through in that time period.
And Tag, I have news for you. It's not enough time to train teachers the way they need to be trained in order to work with these children who have mental disabilities. That's why Selena, like, she's so important in schools. Like, put professionals in these schools all day, every day to work with these kids. Because 10-minute talk here is not going to do anything.
You got to think, these people who are mental health professionals spend years in school, you know what I'm saying, perfecting their craft and learning the ins and outs of mental health. And you give teachers a 30-minute to an hour training and say, you're capable right now of going in and teaching your kids, but also handling their social and emotional needs. And it's not enough.
Ridiculous.
1 hour. You're right.
Raider Kev in the building. What's up, man?
Hey, Raider Kev.
We got Bill Harvey. He's been participating in a lot of BS3 shows. And as you see, he was referred by H-Rap. He goes, wow, a lot of beautiful sisters. Harp, why are you just putting me on to this? I don't need to see your ugly face. So, again, and that's not a typo that he called him Harp, because, again, that's one of their family last names, Harper. So a lot of people call him Harper H-Rap. So we appreciate you, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you.
Let's see. And Justin said, isn't it sad when we first heard about this, we automatically thought it was race related? Hey, and that's not a crazy thought, is it? We got Facebook users, don't know who that is. They said, hi, everyone. So give Facebook permission to publish your name. Same thing here. Yeah, same thing here with the Facebook user. There's big facts. I have a 12-year-old. 2 and 1. That's true. Not true. Aunt Weta says a loner is one sign. Eats lunch by themselves. No friends. No participation in activities. Absolutely. And whatever you said one time, Justin said that's so true. Alicia. CJ said, "What's good, y'all? I'm a little late today. What's up, CJ?"
Hey, CJ.
Weta says, I'm with Alicia. When a child is in their room all the time, you should check to see what's up, no doubt. And go through their phone. Guess what? I'm telling you.
I pop up every time.
Hey, and I'm telling you like this. Do this. I'm going to tell you this little trick I did before. I used to do stuff for comedy, but it was also for effect, right? So I go say, hey, go get me your phone. And as soon as they turn away to go get me their phone, I got up and followed right behind them because I knew you finna go in here and be trying to change something. Yeah. So I walked right in that room. What you do? And that phone go in there and hit the ceiling fan. But check their phone and don't give them time to change it or delete stuff, right? You know, you get their phone, go check, go through their drawers. Hey, you know, they talking about privacy and stuff like that. What privacy? You don't get no privacy. Shoot, you get privacy when you go TT.
Or I get confused when people, I get confused when they said they ordered it and packages came to the house and you didn't go through it. You just let them take that upstairs. Yeah. Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know, they'd be like, Karen, that's my package. They don't even call her mom. Let me be quiet.
Oh, wow. Why her name got to be Karen?
Stacy, put my stuff down. You're like, oh,
I mean, if we gonna talk about it, Beecher, let's be honest.
Listen, Linda.
I ain't Linda in the house. What's going on, Linda? Let's see. H-Rap said, I agree. I missed the clowning in the locker room more than the games. Yeah, that's a big aspect of it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Pastor Smith said, I believe it's time for churches to pick up the slack. Amen. You ain't got to go no further. Go ahead and pass the plate right now. I believe it's time for churches to pick up the slack on that social development aspect of schools. If parents decide to homeschool, their churches should have programs available for children so they can be socialized. And I'm talking about, I done messed up because I can't read this. And I'm talking about regular socialization, not preaching to them the whole time. Right on.
Yeah, I like that.
Right on.
Yeah, that's good, Pastor Derek.
Yeah, they gonna get there.
That's Selena Booyah.
How you know she want people to know that?
They know.
She's a proud wife. She will like for them to know. Who her man is.
H-Rap just said LOL. And Weta says, if y'all notice, most of the kids that done the shooting, they all had one thing in common. They spent a lot of time in their room.
Building them weapons.
What's up, Momo? Monique says we have to keep SEL first.
So social emotional learning.
Okay, talk to us because this is you talking in jargon. We ain't all in education. We had
Is
to
Monique
keep.
in education?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Obviously,
that. I didn't know
I think
that.
she's trying to show out.
Yeah.
We have to keep.
I just thought maybe she knew some sign. That's why I was
That's
like, let
all
me
right,
see
Monique.
her.
Help us out.
Yeah, I thought she was going to go on this Summer Walker song, Self Care or something like that. I didn't know what she was going to say. We have to keep SEL first. Students need these types of lessons. We educate the whole child, right?
But see, that's the problem. That is now just a tagline for schools. Like, we educate the whole child. You don't educate the whole child. You're worried about the pedagogy. You're worried about those scores. You're not worried about their social emotional health, their physical health.
You said the pedagogy. What?
Pedagogy.
So when you're only worried about,
didn't I tell you at the beginning of the show that when you say country stuff, to say it slow so us regular people can understand.
So when you're only worried about the skills, right? The standards, the Texas State standards, the reading.
I don't know what kind of coat
people
wear.
I
don't know what kind of coats they wear.
When you're only worried about that, you are not worried about educating the whole child. The whole child includes their social, emotional development. It includes their physical development, whether or not their needs are being met at the house. You know, all of that is educating the whole child.
They always hungry. Yeah.
Right. Their motto or their tagline is "We educate the whole child," but it's not true. So until we
sound good.
This, right? It sounds good. Until we actually put that into practice, we're gonna keep having things like this because we don't know what's going on with our students socially and emotionally. All we know is whether they can pass the test, what standards they need extra help on, but we don't know if they have some stuff going on at the house that we have to talk about.
Okay, go ahead. Let's show everybody how we talked about lack of control earlier. Go ahead and show people how you can't not laugh when you start laughing. If you're not Wilma Jean's daughter, it ain't no such thing. Can't even talk when they start laughing. So April said,
I need to start reading the comments when they come in.
See, y'all heard about the teacher comparing Obama to monkeys. I think that's been happening since he was in office. So I'd have to ask you which teacher because it happens so frequently.
Yeah.
Atrap said he agrees. Okay, CJ says, what happened to our school counselors actually taking time to talk to troubled kids that may struggle socially? Mika and Selena, I'll let y'all address that.
Link, you got that one.
I just think with school counselors now have so many other jobs added to their title. So they do things like 504, which is special ed, dyslexia. They do schedules, a lot of things that don't necessarily have anything to do with students' social and emotional health. And that's the things that they're graded on as far as their job description. They have certain times where they can speak to kids, but if you are not someone who anybody even notices that you're struggling socially, no one's going to give you a pass or a counsel request to even go see the counselor. And if you are in your feelings like that, you're not asking for counseling. Most students don't ask, right? And so the teacher has to be curious enough to identify there's something going on with them and give them a counseling referral. And that's not happening because they're worried about them passing the test. And the counselor worried about doing character counseling elementary. So are you being kind? No bullying, those types of things. But they're not being intentional about speaking to the specific social emotional need of a specific student. And that's why we need mental health professionals in the schools that are kind of away from the counselors' roles, all of the counselors' roles, but that they are specifically there to help socially and emotionally develop these kids.
Okay. Momo said, yes, those that are trained and actually have the time to help the students. We need trauma coaches just like we have instructional coaches.
Absolutely.
H-Rep says, hell, the educators need mental support as well. I don't think anybody would argue that. Especially Miss Kirkendall back in the 8th grade. She was crazy.
You got his name.
I was gonna say, I hope she's not watching.
I hope she's not either.
Nah, she drunk too much vodka. She ain't around.
Wasn't she at Memorial Middle School?
Is that the teacher you talked about that drank in the classroom?
Maybe. She didn't I wouldn't have told her though. She'd have let me hit it. Give me that flask you got over there. so I can hoop hard at lunch. Pastor Smith said, maybe it's time for us to stop trying to fix school systems that the administrators are not interested in fixing. Woo! And start creating our own schools. There you go. That will not that will not only educate our kids properly, but also protect them mentally and physically. 100.
Yeah.
But can we get together as a society?
Yeah. Nope, not unless they selling some
Can we get
J's.
together as a society?
Okay.
Matter of fact, that's next week's show at the Independence Mentality. One of the things we're going to be talking about is Black men and Black women think they are separate entities, as opposed to a whole. Why is it us against y'all? So if we can't even get together, man and woman, how we going to get together and start a school?
But that school would be fire.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Okay, I can tell right now, the marching bands, you finna have kindergarten HBCUs in this month. They're gonna be walking to lunch jamming.
Hey, that's what get our kids going. Hey.
Bill Harvey says, powerful topics. I like this. And what's interesting about this topic, Mr. Harvey, and I was thinking about it as I was looking over my notes, is that one of the things that we had as our first question, we wrote these, how long ago was this? This is over a week ago, right? Okay, where we came up with this topic. And one of the questions that Mika put on, it says, start off with the latest story and get thoughts and their reactions. That was 2 weeks ago. We had no idea what the latest story would be. Then the latest story was this DeSoto female that was from where, Dr. Smith?
Bastrop, Louisiana.
Where?
Bastrop, Louisiana.
Type it in the comments so people can see it. They don't understand that.
Don't do it, Selena.
She is from Bastrop, Louisiana, and she committed suicide at Southern, right? Southern University. And that was the story at the time. So again, it didn't relate it to mental health, but as you can tell, that based on the events of today, it is all over that mental health topic and our children, et cetera. And now think about this. What about the kids that survived this event?
Yes,
I know.
What about the educators that survived this event?
Right.
What about the whole community? It's a small one as it is, but you got 16,000 folks now that that's going to live with them the rest of their life.
Yeah, they were even talking about a teacher and how she was running her students to the cafeteria, and she said the whole time she was just praying like, God, let me get them to the cafeteria and don't let him come in here. And so she said she could hear what was going on in the background. And the whole time she thinking he getting closer, like he's going to come in here and take our lives. But they ended up getting out of it. But even Blake asked me today when we were watching the news about it. That's why I kind of turned it off. He was like, Mom, did he kill the kindergartners? And I was like, huh? Because we're in the middle of it. I'm like, huh? And he said, they killed the kindergartners? I said, no, it was second, third, and fourth. He was like, oh, I'm glad I'm not in those grades. But he just equates it. As a child, you equate it. I'm not in that grade, so I'm safe,
Yeah, see, so now, not only is it kids in that community, it's kids in communities around the country who just simply hear it. Just think about it. They sitting there trying to learn, and the custodian walking through the hallways, and he dropped the broom. Shit, that can mess them up for the whole the rest of the class. Now I can't concentrate because I thought somebody was out there shooting or something like that. And
I think our earliest memories happened at 5 or 6, y'all. I think. And imagine that being your first thing that you remember.
A lot of folks is earlier than that.
Yeah, but like a lot of them, this is going to be the first thing that they remember.
Yeah.
And I was telling Mika earlier today, before I even knew about the shooting, I heard some commotion in the hallway. And so normally I get up and go see what was happening. But today, like something quickened in my spirit. And I was like, because they had brought a gun to the high school that's next door to our school 2 days ago. And so, or Monday. And so I was like, if this is a school shooting, if I peek my head in this hallway, I'm going to get shot. So I picked up my phone and my radio, but I was like, none of the other administrators had their radio on today. And so I was like, let me just ease on into the hallway to see what the commotion is. But it was some kids playing. And so something said, go check that back door, because sometimes they run in and out the back door and it doesn't shut all the way. And something said, go check that back door and make sure it's shut. Because if we are having a school shooting, we're not prepared. because no one has a radio today.
Right.
The back door could be open. So I checked the back door and I sent a text and I said, we are not prepared if something were to happen, if there was a school shooting or something, because none of you have radios on today. And I went and sat back down. I was like, we're going to be all right. And 30 minutes later, I got that notification about a school shooting. And I was like, that was not a coincidence. You know what I'm saying?
No,
we
it wasn't.
have to be more vigilant because it's happening all the time. And for even just the commotion of students running from class to class, making me think school shooting, I was like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Right on.
Commotion in the elementary school, to me, signals something's amiss.
Right. Brian says, A-Trap says, SEL is important for
adults.
Maybe. He from Chicago.
Adults as well, especially people
he went to South Oak Cliff, Chicago. SEL is important for adults as well, especially people getting out of jail. So he talking about Big Illinois. Let's see. Rita says, I can walk in every classroom and can tell which kid have mental issues. A teacher should be able to identify or be suspicious of students with mental issues. School needs to have a watch list of the kids that they discern might be a threat.
That's why relationships are so important with our teachers and our students. Because when I was in the classroom, I was able to see, okay, Angela having a bad day. She feels because everybody in here.
Not Angela.
Number one, it's her name, Angela. Her mama need to quit naming her such old names. That's probably why she having the trouble.
I had an Angela, y'all.
Hey, name your kids something current. That's gonna help with their mental issues right there.
See, what about Angie?
Nathaniel. Nathaniel ass can't be, don't not call him Nathaniel.
I think of people I work with, Angela.
Pastor Smith says Strop City, talking about Bass Strip.
Yes.
Let's see. Monique says we need our own. When I speak to my older family about schools way back, the students and teachers respected one another as well as related to one another. It was a village, right on. Now that's another thing. Like when Lita was talking about, you got to identify kids and you need to start telling. Guess what? Some of the parents, you try to tell them that their kid is they're going to go off. That's the part of the problem. They're so defensive about it, like it's an indictment on them and their parenting and their character, and it ain't got nothing to do with that, Let's see. CJ said, okay, hell no, we can't get our own school. Y'all see how long it's taking Dr. Umar to make his school. Wow. He said, LOL, he's still asking for donations. Dude, been working on HVAC and plumbing for 10 years now. The same people that's over his school is over the church building fund.
Okay.
Ain't put a doorknob on the church. A-Trap said that's horrible. CJ said another crazy thought is I wonder why school shooting doesn't happen in predominantly black school district. Well,
just do a little research and pull up images of school shooters, the thugs that attack.
And for one, we check everybody walking the door. I need that badge. You look unfamiliar. I need to see a badge.
I started.
Not unfamiliar.
Let's see. Mr. Harvey said, "Sad world we live in," and I guess he said, me and A-Trap grew up in the most dangerous communities in Chicago, but we never were afraid in school. He talking about me. He goes, here we go. This guy with the names. CJ says, LOL, I used to charge up a girl because her name was Gertrude Bellamy. God, dog, he done said her whole name, Gertrude Bellamy.
Dang.
And, Mama was stuck in 1953. All right, we're going to get Miss Sybil on and let us tell her what we need to know, and then we'll come back with final thoughts and wrap this one up.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Tuesday. It's voting day, May 24th, 2022. Number 1. Voters go to the polls Tuesday for primary elections in the states of Alabama, Arkansas, and Georgia. Texas holds runoff elections, and Minnesota has a special election to fill a congressional seat. Most of the mainstream political discussions are about Republican races in Georgia, but races in Alabama African Americans are dominating major races. 3 black women are among 6 candidates running for the Democratic nomination in the Alabama governor's race, and 3 black men are running for the U.S. Senate Democratic nomination. Number 2, Kathy Barnett, self-proclaimed black conservative, veteran, and beneficiary of a recent poll surge, is now the loser of the 2022 United States Senate Pennsylvania GOP primary. Barnett doubled down on blaming Fox News pundit Sean Hannity and the media at large for her defeat in a heated interview Sunday with CNN. Barnett attributed her loss to partisan media coverage and the grotesque smear campaigns that highlighted her bias-riddled tweets. Number 3, Pfizer announced 3 doses of its COVID-19 vaccine offer strong protection for children younger than 5. Pfizer plans to give the data to U.S. regulators later this week in a step toward letting the littlest ones get those shots. The news comes after months of anxious waiting by parents desperate to vaccinate their babies, toddlers, and preschoolers, especially as COVID-19 cases once again are on the rise. Number 4, a video of a California woman whose credit card was allegedly declined at a restaurant has gone viral after she was seen yelling at a black employee and making racist comments. An employee at the Boathouse restaurant at Hendry's Beach uploaded the nearly 5-minute video to his personal Instagram account, which now has over 20,000 views. The employee said it was not the first time he had been targeted with racist comments. Number 5. Most Americans rely on Social Security for income during their retirement years. Do you know how to maximize your check each month? Find out 4 simple ideas in today's newsletter brought to you by Texas CPA Katrina M. Kraft. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Free yourself from the judgment of others. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with comedian extraordinaire Damon Williams and political contributor Cameron Riley as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the American Heart Association. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SybylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.
Thank you, Sybil. I don't think anybody naming their kids Sybil no more either. God, dog.
I just thought about a little kid named Walter. He 9.
Oh, Walter. That's a family name. Call him Walt, I guess.
Walt ain't no better.
Yeah.
Ain't no better.
And we're going to give a little love to our Black-owned business of the week. So check them out and get you some popcorn.
This year, make Taste Buds Popcorn your one-stop shop for all your gift-giving needs. We offer the perfect solution to make your holiday gifting pop. Corporate gifts, holiday gifts, gifts for your staff and coworkers. With options like tins, sampler trios, gift boxes, or individual bags, we can make your gift-giving memorable this year. Amazing holiday flavors are available for a limited time. White chocolate peppermint, snickerdoodle, pumpkin spice latte, gingerbread, eggnog, and many more. Taste Buds Popcorn has been seen on NBC, Fox, and CBS. Winner of Retailer of the Year, Best of Weddings for the Knot magazine, and featured in Food Network magazine.
I couldn't tell that was a Black-owned business until Gremlin started playing at the end. All right, let's see if we got any comments before we give our final thoughts here. Okay. Hey, we just said if I was a teacher, I would break the rules and bring 3 guns.
3.
Wait a minute. She gonna bring a sawed-off shotgun inside her desk, one in my backpack, and one strapped to me at all times. I was trying to play for the kids, and they gonna be with you. And if the shooter enter my classroom, I'm going to go Rambo style on the shooter. Wow.
Come on, Rambo.
Go on, Anita.
And I'm trying to see what this got to do with mental health. But he goes, Bill Harvey said, and at the Viagra company, I'm not sure if I want my son to get that shot. Oh, Pfizer. Yeah, the Pfizer.
Yeah.
Oh, he goes, ain't that the Viagra company? Pfizer. I'm not sure if I want my son to get. Maybe you do.
Oh, my.
Let's see. Momo said this is great information, much needed. Yeah, I was gonna say that, Monique. This was not our plan for the show. However, I think there has been some nuggets dropped and some very good information shared, and a good way to kind of debrief, from the events of the day for sure.
Yeah.
See, Justin said just call them Muddy from Cadillac Records. I guess he's talking about Walter.
Yeah.
All right, now it is time for our final thoughts. And unlike Man Talk Mondays, you do not have to say at the end, and those are my final thoughts.
You gonna leave her alone?
First of all,
now last night, Monday night, why did you let Grace get away with not saying, and those are my final thoughts? You didn't do her like you did me and send me a private chat talking about when you say these are your final thoughts.
Because I wasn't able to tell her. I told you. I wasn't able to tell her prior to.
You told me when? Yeah. I didn't get that.
We were on the show. She told us.
Knowledge is power.
Well, I wasn't listening.
You know better, you do better.
You see, that's what we talking about. These educators don't identify the needs of their students. If you'd have known, you know.
I didn't know you had an IEP.
I'm a student that be cutting up. I don't be listening.
I wasn't aware you had modifications.
I'm smart, but I put more emphasis or emphasis, depending on how you say it. Okay. If you put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, I put more emphasis. Thank you. So you got to be smart to get them jokes. That's why Lily and Nikki didn't laugh that hard.
I was because you're an idiot.
All right. Next week, we'll be talking about independence mentality. I mentioned that earlier with guest host Gary Freeman. You do not want to miss that one. Gary has what is called philosophy, playing on his last name, Freeman, philosophy. And I can't remember, I don't know how many he's up to now, well over 100. And we're trying to get him to publish this book. It's really just a kind of a common sense book, but it ain't so common anymore, right? So again, we are up to our final thoughts, and we're going to start with our guest, Dr. Selena Fitzroy Smith.
And you can say those are my final thoughts if you want to.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna cut that off. I'm gonna mute her when she said those.
So I do want to say that mental health issues are a combination of a person's genetics and also their environment and the things that they experience, right? And so as parents or as educators, as teachers, as people who are around, especially children who suffer from mental health issues, it's imperative that you be curious to be able to identify that something's wrong, right? Something's not going right. Because just like mental health is physical health, just like you notice that when your child is sick or when there's something physically wrong with your child, you have to be able to identify when there's something mentally wrong with your child, when behaviors are different. And doing that, you have to seek help. You have to get them physical help when needed and also mental health when needed. And so I will leave you with my final thought as there should not be a stigma to mental health, because mental health is physical health. And when your child is sick, whether mentally or physically, you would get them help. So please get them help, because you helping your child may save someone else's life.
Amen.
And that's my final thoughts.
I'm gonna start playing some soft music when you give your final thoughts.
Yeah, that's good, Selena. Say it just like that. What you said.
And for those who don't really know, I know H-Rap may need some help with this. When she said imperative, that means it's a must. So, I know you went to the South Oak Cliff of Chicago, so you may not have known that. All right, final thoughts from Anna, Texas, way out by Van Augustine.
My final thoughts are, Selena, thank you for that. My final thoughts are, just like Selena said, I often tell my kids that your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And that is very true. I tell them that all the time, because we need to understand that. And I've had conversations with them about genetics and stuff with regards to mental health, that that can be carried on from generation to generation. But I want them to, if they have anything that's wrong with them, if your children are acting out, like, or like we said earlier, acting out, or if they're being secretive, or if they're being irritable and things of that nature, and just making a big deal about something that really seems really small to us, it may not be small to them. They think their whole world has been turned upside down sometimes, when in reality they don't want to come to us and say anything about it. But we got to make sure that our kids talk to us. We need to have a dialogue with them as much as possible if we see that anything is wrong with them. And that's just the bottom line. We have to make sure that we are nosy, and we to see it, or whoever said it earlier. You got to be in their business, so that they won't end up with so much anger in them that they go and do something like this person did. So that's all I want to say about that part of it. But this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Keegan's Place has my nonprofit organization. We are having a fundraiser on Facebook, as well as if you want to donate that way, you can donate that way if you would like to. If not, you can go to Tom Thumb, because we talked about
You
this last
said it the
time.
black way.
Yeah, you can sign up at there to Keegan's Place. You can sign up to like have money come out of your coming out of your
You can donate when you buy groceries.
Yes, and when you do that, they'll have you fill out. You can ask for a form. It's called the Good Neighbor
program.
So if you do that, they'll take that money and they'll donate it to Keegan's Place. I think it's usually like quarterly that they do it, and we'll receive a check from all the people that do that. And then you can also do it at Kroger, as well as you can do it at
Piggly Wiggly.
No, we're not Piggly Wiggly's. No, not. I said Kroger already. You can do it at Kroger, and then you can also do it at Ted Hush.
Skaggs.
You can no, that is true.
Stop, Ted. Dang.
I forgot those chains. Albertson, yeah, Albertson, yeah.
Tom Kroger,
so Tom Kroger, and Albertson.
That's what Skaggs is.
And Albertson, I know, but Albertson and Tom Thumb are one, so you can sign up there anywhere. They've merged together.
Maze is one. We are one. They say.
Oh boy,
come on now.
So that's all I have. But I would Keegan's Place would really like for you guys to donate in some form or fashion, because the help doesn't just go to the adults. It goes to everybody that may need some assistance with mental health.
So do this. Post the Good Neighbor information on your Facebook, and so we can post it through the Queen3 King page, BS3 Network page, et cetera, et cetera. So get a post together. Yeah, make it shareable.
Yeah.
And in addition to May being Mental Health Awareness Month, it is also Eyelash Awareness Month. So your one on the left is coming off right there. You probably need a little bit.
Lord, forgive me for what I'm about to do.
Just put a little bit, put a touch of super glue on that one. The third eyelash over is coming out. Stay out the wind. Either one. Stay it out the wind. Either way, however you want to deal with it.
Oh my gosh.
And those are your final thoughts. Mika, go ahead.
Yeah, that I'm sick of you. That's my final thought.
Oh my. I don't know what to say. I'm gonna make it quick. Guys, Selena said it correctly. Like today was super heavy. It was super heavy. Not only just for people affected in that community, but for everybody outside watching and looking in. And I'm just gonna put it like this: as much time, effort, money you put into prom and graduation, put that same amount of work, love, and support into your children's mental health.
That's same energy. Yep.
That's it. Thank y'all for the support.
All right, baby queen Lily.
Thank you for the support, everybody. I think the perfect word was just, it was said earlier, is just be vigilant. I always tell Cadence, when you're walking out of school, you need to be looking up. I don't want to see you looking at your phone, walking like this, because you don't know what's happening around you. You need to pick your head up. So I'm always saying, pick your head up.
You
always.
Don't know what I got going on.
Yeah, she don't know what's going on around her. But I always say, be vigilant. Always pick your head up and look, because you never know what's going on. Yeah. But it's just one of the things that I think I thought about when I heard about today's events is just those parents dropping their kids off at school. They didn't know that would be the last time that they saw their child alive. Right. So it's a lot of parents just dealing with the loss of that tonight. A lot of empty beds, a lot of empty hearts, just voids that will never be filled because of the mental illness of one individual. So just make sure that we're checking in on each other. Even your strong friends. We always hear people saying, check on your strong friends. And that's so true, because you never know what somebody is going through. Mm-hmm. And I know even this week, just me, my energy has been off. And I always say that's kind of where I have to kind of take a step back and check myself, because I don't want that to bleed over into my kids or in my household. Bye, Teg.
But I'm just trying to help you.
No, but whatever.
I got that fire.
Okay. And but I just always say, just to make sure that you take time for yourself to kind of take a step back, but also watch what's going on in your household with your kids. So important, because you are their advocate. So sometimes they don't feel like they have anybody, but Cadence know I will bust in that room. I will do whatever I need to do to make sure you're good. If it includes a good check, and I'm going to check you, and we'll go on about our day and we'll hug that night. But it's just important for us to be that support and be that advocate for our kids.
Right on. Yeah, I my final thoughts include those what Mika said, that same energy you use for, drill team and athletics and, whatever, the prom and whatever else your kid got going on, use that same energy in terms of protecting them. And, one thing that I would say is that life can change in the blink of an eye, in the blink of an eye. So, let your kids know how you feel about them. Let them know that you're there for them, because again, it can change in the blink of an eye, and you have to live life like that. Don't be dwelling on no petty junk. Operate in forgiveness and love on your kids. We definitely appreciate you supporting Queen3 and King. Without you, there is no us. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Selena, tell the people how they can get a hold of you and watch your fine work on some of the other channels.
I am on Instagram at Dr. Smith_Trauma Queen. And also my podcast is Teaching Through the Eyes of Trauma on any podcast platform. And Twitter is also at Dr. Smith_Trauma Queen.
You don't want to talk about the show you produce? Oh,
yes. I also am a producer of Man Talk Mondays on Monday nights with John Yogi Lewis and my husband, Derek, the thought engineer.
Oh, she got sweet on her. She said,
she blushed.
Don't, girl.
Man, why are you looking at me like that, though?
Who? Me?
You.
I'm trying to say what I'm finna say. Go ahead.
I was about to say, because he's thinking of something
Family members need trauma intervention therapy. Our training, you can also reach me at innerearagency.com. That is INNER. EARAGENCY.com.
You better get it.
She's spelling it. All right, well, we appreciate you. And as a producer, everybody should know she is a very mean producer. There's a nurse Ratchet. She producer Ratchet over there, boy. She just give it to you.
So. She's very thorough. I make you feel at home.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ray Cab, we appreciate you, sir. Appreciate the support. Again, we'll see you next week on another episode of Queen3 and King. Say bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Are we smiling or what are we doing?
The Queen Bee has arrived.
You know. We'll show out then. So I'm gonna start with both of y'all's hands right here.
Look for my thumb.
Look for your thumb.
Like if you can see my thumb on this mic.